Hey guys, Scott Fishman here for Wrestling Inc. Today we have a great guest for you guys today, an Emmy winner, in fact. He's hosting Top Gear America right now, co-hosting, I should say. Rob Corddry, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Before we get into the show, a lot of fans may know you, of course, from a number of projects, including Hot Tub Time Machine. And one thing I remember as a wrestling fan is the weekend of WrestleMania, where
Yeah.
you were hosting guest hosting Monday Night Raw. I know you had talked about the experience in the past that you kind of attending WrestleMania, you kind of got a renewed appreciation for pro wrestling. Just talk about what
Yeah.
that weekend and that night was for you.
It was insane. So I was a big wrestling fan when I was a kid. We used to like make our own belts and go down to the school gym on a Saturday somehow. I don't know who broke in, but one of the like future criminals I hung out with in Boston. And yeah, but then I kind of like there was a big portion of my life where I didn't have a TV and everything I loved just fell by the wayside. And yeah, I got to be friends with Clark Duke, big friend of the WWE,
Yeah.
and we hosted Raw, and it was so funny because and I've heard this, right, that wrestlers are the nicest guys in the world. And I could not, I'm sure I've said this before with you guys. I could not have been more impressed by all the dudes I met backstage. They were so impeccably dressed, you know, like a NBA team travels and in suits and stuff. They were all in suits. They were so polite and welcoming, and I just felt great. I felt on top of the world. And then I walked out onto that stage with Clark. We had, rehearsed and we knew what we were going to say. And there was a crowd of thousands and they just started booing us.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm the heel. How, how did I
Naturally.
not how did I not know this? Like, how did that not? I thought I was walking in a hero here, and I was getting booed, and I was like, oh yeah, and I forget what I said. It was something like, shut up. Like I had to like get in the mode, and Clark was like a huge fan. He was trying to compute in his head, and he was just like he had blanked.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
But
you
we
guys are
worked we
outsiders,
worked it
so
out. We
yeah,
Yeah,
it worked
right?
out for
We
sure.
worked it out and we had a great time. I just wish somebody had prepped me.
Well, one of the memorable scenes where you guys were in the hot tub with a number of the women of WWE, and I look back and two of them were the Bella twins. So it's amazing to look back at over 10, all these years ago
Yeah.
and you see what
Yeah,
happened.
no, I will admit to looking back myself at some of those videos. Um, quite an honor at the time, not just now in retrospect, you
Yeah.
know. And again, they were the nicest, most welcoming people in the world. And then I got into a tub with them.
And then, yeah, I was gonna say, and then a couple years fast forward, and then you're working with Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Not only is he the biggest man in Hollywood, but a legend within WWE.
Yeah.
Tell me kind of the experience of working on Ballers, and now now a year or two after the show ended, putting in retrospect, all those times that you shared with someone
Yeah.
like him.
Well, he's kind of, I mean, truly, and I don't mean just his size. He's a truly larger than life character. He's an amazing guy. It was an experience I'll cherish for the rest of my life. And we used to talk all the time about everything, just in between scenes and stuff. And something we always talked about was wrestling. And I was always impressed by how much he still having the biggest star in the world at the point. Like I was doing scenes with the biggest star in the world. And he had an affinity, he had a love for wrestling and he was like, and then he'd go back, we'd have like 5 days off. And I was like, why do we have so much time off? And they were like, oh, he's going to wrestle. And I was like, God bless him. And then he'd come back and he'd be like, yeah, I broke my something or other. Like he'd hurt something. And then he was like, I'm never wrestling again. And then a year later, next season, one of his guys would be like, "Yeah, he's talking about wrestling again." So he could never get away from it.
Right, right. Can't once you
He
have the
loves it
bug.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves it so much.
Do you
He'll be
see
back.
Yeah, do you guys see yourself, revisiting Ballers at any point, maybe as a movie or something years down the line to see what happened with Joan Spencer?
I don't know, man. I mean, it happened with Entourage, and it's like same, like half of the same producers, So, um, but I don't know. The success of that movie maybe, you know, uh, it excludes that possibility. So I don't know. I wish. I mean, I had such a good time shooting that show, playing that character. He was such a jackass, and so fun to play.
Yeah,
But I always tend to doubt it, just self-protection, like why I look
because you wanna be
forward to something
disappointed too. Yeah, I
and that
understand.
might not ever happen. And then when it does happen, I'm like, oh, great, of course it's happened.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
one thing that is happening, Top Gear America, more episodes on Motor Trend, the app, which is amazing how, accessible, shows like this are, and just the production
Yeah.
value of the show. You guys are going all out. We're seeing explosions. You guys are racing each other. Just talk about just the friendship that you and Jethro Bovington and Dax Shepard have, and how kind of how you were closely bonded during this period, especially with the pandemic and everything, and
Yeah. Yeah. That we learned very early on, right, that the success of Top Gear, because Top Gear, the British version, was successful because of those three, the three hosts, the original hosts, and it was the biggest television show of all time. Worldwide, it had billions of viewers. So um, everybody, it's hard formula to sort of follow. So we decided early on not to follow it, except the one thing that made that show successful, which was um, the camaraderie between the hosts. And it was the three of us that picked up on that because we became friends from our first day. We were fast friends, and it was just kind of one of those things where it felt like we had been friends forever, you
Mhm.
know. And they're my I consider them like I'm here now shooting Top Gear, and we just did something insane yesterday. We did something insane, and I felt safe because of those two.
Mm. And they
Which
probably
is
they probably motivate you to do some things maybe you wouldn't have done otherwise because they're so crazy. Like, let's do this. And you're like, I don't know. But then you see them and you're like, okay,
well,
let's do
yeah,
this.
yeah. That's my role. That's my role on the show. Uh, I am. Those guys have way more experience than I do, and you know, I I'm I am not pretending to be scared what I'm scared on that show. And yesterday, I keep pointing to yesterday because it's so fresh in my mind. It was probably the most frightening thing we've ever done.
Wow.
Those guys were nervous,
That shows.
and that's really saying something. And we got through it, and it was. I felt 20 feet tall afterwards, and it's largely because of them.
Wow. So, you
Yeah,
touched on what you're actively filming right now. As far as what you've done and what we're seeing in upcoming episodes, what are like one or two memorable things, or what can you tease about what people are going to be seeing in these upcoming episodes that start May the 7th and run through June? So,
yeah. Well, there's a lot of great episodes. We chat. We There's one of my favorite episodes is where when we drive our poster cars. The cars that were up on a poster in our rooms when we were little kids. So it's I'm not giving away anything. It's in all the trailers.
right.
Um, I forget. I think Dax had a Vector, which is an insane car. There was hold on. I had a '78 Pontiac Firebird, which is still to this day my favorite car I've ever driven on the show. And it was just chariot only had a couple hundred miles on it. And Jethro, I forget. He's always got he's British. He has it's like a Lancia Delta or something. I don't know. And that was that's a cool episode, man. We just watching Dax try and park a Vector. Do you know what a Vector is?
Uh, Not like quite
The
sure, but
car's about that tall, and
okay.
then it just flat, and it looks like it was one of the finalists to become the Back to the Future car, if that makes any sense to
Wow.
you. But they were like, it looks too crazy.
Let's
It
go with
looks too
Mandalorian.
futuristic. uh, yeah, and he was just trying to park it in a just a a simple parking job was impossible, and it's hilarious. It's a great example of an episode that relies on the three of us just interacting.
And I'm sure like during this time about you guys getting to travel and be some sort of togetherness. I mean, how is that for you to have some sort of project to focus on during this time?
It was initially very scary. Um, I didn't I didn't want to go, because we started. I think we were the first show back. We were the first show back. Um, we started again in last June when everybody was still in pretty secure lockdown, and I was scared. I rented a camper, this crappy camper, and just drove myself to god awful places, and just camped in horrible RV parks because I didn't want to like walk into a hotel room like I'm in now. And it took me a minute really to like ease into it. The
Okay.
fact that I wasn't wearing a mask,
Yeah.
outside, and it was that in and of itself was terrifying for a while. We got very used to it. It was a settling experience for me in terms of COVID.
And lastly, just how far? Just tell me about your love of cars in general. I mean, wrestling. Mentioned wrestling, being a fan, and just how you became just so enthralled with it. I mean, do you have any memories growing up, or kind of what
Yeah,
kind of solidified it
yeah.
for you?
My dad was a huge gearhead. He always used to talk. He had like a first generation Jag XKE. If that means anything to you guys, it was like it's one of the greatest cars of all time. He had it new. Um, and he was like he would just save up all his money. He would work only to buy cars. He wasn't a rich guy by any means, and he had Mustangs and everything. And then he went to Vietnam, and he got rid of all his cars and drove a Willys Jeep. His job was driving a General around for a while. That's his favorite car to this day. And then I had a friend in high school who was this big gearhead, and he just taught me about engines and stuff. And we would always drive to the beach in his shitbox Mustang, for lack of a better descriptor. And we would open the hood on Nantasket Beach on the South Shore of Massachusetts, and to attract girls. For some reason, we thought that would attract girls. It was just dopier guys than us would hang out,
Right.
and yeah, and that was it. And then I moved to New York, and it just went away because I was using the subway every day.
Right.
But I got to LA, and I was like, oh my god, I can own a car. I can finally own a car, and it just exploded again. And so that, it's been a lifelong love for me.
Wow. So like living the dream right now, it seems.
Yeah, but but I just don't have the driving experience that in a way that these guys have. I've always been the one of my friends who you go to if you want to know about cars and ask about cars, right? But compared to Dax and Jethro, yeah, I had no idea that world even existed.
Mm.
I was just a silly version of them, which I continue to be to this day.
All right. Well, Thanks so much, Rob, for the time. I really appreciate it. It was great reminiscing about the wrestling thing for
Yeah,
me. Having been there,
for
I was actually live over there for that
you
Raw.
were.
So I was actually wearing a Hot Tub Time Machine shirt because I had one from like a movie junket or something. But me and my
Oh
wife
yeah.
were actually wearing that shirt. So
Oh, that's cool.
I'll have to tweet it to you some if I find it
Yeah,
somehow.
do,
But
do,
all
do.
right. Well, thanks so much for the time. Top Gear America. Definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys have cooking up. Have a good day.
It's awesome, man. It's a great show, and I'm so excited to promote it.
Yeah, we're
I
excited to see
really
it.
want people to watch it because it's not just a car show. It's
That's for
it's
sure.
mostly about just hanging out and
Three buds
you
hanging
know,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
All right, you too, man.
Take care.